Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. Also, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Thanks. I just wanted to start over. After my mom passed away, everything around me felt heavy. Our house, the neighborhood, even the air. So, I packed my things, took what little money I had saved, and moved 2 towns over to a place called Mill Creek, a quiet spot in the middle of nowhere. Cheap rent, no family drama, and best of all, a Burger King 5 minutes from my new apartment that was hiring for night shifts. It sounded perfect. My first few weeks were dull, but easy. Just me, the fryer humming, and the smell of grease that never quite left my clothes. Nights were quiet. Most of the time, I'd get a handful of customers around dinner, a few late-night drunks after midnight, and that was it. I didn't mind. The less people I dealt with, the better. There was an old radio in the kitchen that barely worked, so I'd play music off my phone and try not to think about how lonely it all felt. But that was before he started coming. It was a Tuesday night, rainy, cold, the kind of night where nobody should have been out. I was wiping down the counter when I heard tires crunching on wet asphalt. The headset crackled. "Welcome to Burger King," I said, my usual tone half asleep. "What can I get you tonight?" There was a pause, then a voice, deep, oddly cheerful. "Evening, sweetheart. We'll have 2 meals tonight. 1 Whopper combo for me and..." He stopped, then chuckled. "What do you want, baby?" At first, I thought he was just talking to someone next to him. Then, silence. Only the sound of rain hitting the car roof. He laughed softly. "She's shy tonight. Make that 1 cheeseburger for her." When the car pulled up, I finally saw them. The man was in his late 40s, pale, with slick black hair and a Hawaiian shirt that looked 2 sizes too small. In the passenger seat sat a woman, or what I thought was a woman, wearing a red dress, sunglasses, and a cheap blonde wig. But the skin looked wrong. Too gray. Too stiff. My smile faltered. "That'll be $13.26, sir." He handed me cash, fingers cold and trembling slightly. As I gave him his change, I caught a closer look at the woman. My throat went dry. It wasn't a mannequin. It was a skeleton propped up carefully, jaw tied shut with a thin ribbon. "Nice night, huh?" he said as if nothing was wrong. Yeah," I muttered. He winked. "Jenny says she likes your hair." I froze. He drove off before I could respond. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. He came back the next night, and the next, always between midnight and 1, always wearing that same shirt, always with Jenny. Each time I played along, acting like it was normal. My manager Tom laughed it off when I told him, "Crazy folks everywhere," he said. "Just take his money, smile, and send him on his way." But there was something about the way the man looked at me. Too long, too steady. Sometimes I swore I could see movement in Jenny's seat when there shouldn't have been any. One night, I overheard him whispering through the headset before I even greeted him. "You're prettier than her, you know that?" he said softly. I froze. "Sir?" "Jenny says you're jealous," he replied, laughing low and slow. "Don't worry, baby. You'll get your turn." I didn't answer. I just handed him his order and locked the drive-thru window as soon as he drove off. The weird thing was, he always ordered the same thing. 1 Whopper meal, 1 cheeseburger, every single night, until the storm. It was one of those nights where the wind howls like something alive. I was alone, the store empty, the sound of thunder making my hands shake every time I reached for the fryer. Around 1 a.m., I heard his car pull up. I swallowed hard and put on the headset. "Welcome to Burger King." But before I could finish, he cut in, voice trembling. "Hey, you didn't forget us, did you?" No, sir." "Same order tonight?" He laughed, but it was strained. "Actually, no. Jenny wants her cheeseburger extra cheesy tonight. She's had a bad day." I glanced at the cheese bin, empty. The delivery truck had been delayed. "Sorry, sir, we're out of cheese." I can give you an extra patty instead." Silence. Then his voice cracked like something broke inside him. "No cheese, but Jenny loves cheese." "I understand, sir, but Jenny loves cheese," he screamed. "You can't just take that away from her. Sir, please." Then he went quiet again. When he finally spoke, his tone was icy. "You don't respect love, do you?" "Excuse me?" He chuckled softly. "You think it's funny, don't you? A man loving someone that much?" "Sir, it's just, you're jealous," he whispered. "That's it, isn't it? You wish you were Jenny." That's when something in me snapped. Maybe it was exhaustion or fear or just months of keeping my mouth shut. "Why don't you take Jenny where she belongs?" I said sharply. "Like a graveyard." The line went dead. When he pulled up to the window, I saw his face clearly for the first time. Eyes wide, bloodshot, smile stretched too far. "You'll regret that," he said quietly. "You really will." Then he drove off into the rain. He didn't come back for a week. I convinced myself he'd moved on. Maybe he'd gotten arrested. Maybe he'd found another Burger King. But then Friday night, around 12:30, the headset beeped. "Hey there, sweetheart." My stomach dropped. When the car pulled up, I saw him alone. Jenny's seat was empty. For a moment, I felt relief. Maybe he'd finally let go. But the way he looked at me, honey, was different, focused, angry. He didn't say a word as I handed him the bag. He just stared at me, his hands trembling slightly. Then, instead of leaving, he parked across the street. Through the glass, I watched him sit on his hood, unwrapping his burger. The way he ate, slow, messy, smearing ketchup and mayo across his mouth. It was almost deliberate. Then he licked his fingers clean, staring straight into my eyes the entire time. When he finally left, I locked every door in the store. That night, I barely slept. Every sound outside my window made me jump. The next few weeks were quiet. I started working fewer nights, switching shifts with Tom when I could. But deep down, I knew he'd be back. And he was. It was a Friday again. Almost closing time. My coworker Lydia was in the back cleaning the fryers. I was sweeping near the counter when I heard that familiar engine. I froze. When the car rolled up, I saw him smiling. But this time, there was someone new in the passenger seat. A woman. At first, I thought maybe he'd moved on, maybe found an actual date. She looked young, mid-20s, pretty with long brown hair. But her head was slumped against the window. He leaned toward the speaker. "You remember me?" My throat went dry. Yeah. What can I get you?" He grinned wider. "Jenny's gone. Got me a new girl now." He turned to the woman. "Ain't she beautiful?" She didn't move. Then the smell hit me. Alcohol. Strong. The girl wasn't sleeping. She was out cold. My voice shook. "Sir, is she okay?" He looked at me, eyes wild. "Oh, she's perfect. She's real." Before I could react, he reached into his glove box, pulled out something heavy, metal, a wrench. He turned to her and whispered, "Let's show her, baby." I screamed, "Stop! Don't!" He brought the wrench down, once, twice. The sound was like a hammer cracking a melon. Blood splattered across the windshield. Lydia ran out from the kitchen, saw me shaking by the window, and called 911, but he didn't stop. He kept hitting, yelling through the glass, "She's real, she's real." By the time the cops arrived, he was covered in blood, laughing hysterically. They told me later that the woman had been picked up from a bar downtown, drunk, alone. He offered her a ride. The police found old photos in his apartment, pictures of him and Jenny. Except Jenny wasn't always bones. She'd been alive once. His wife died 6 years ago. He dug her up. He's in prison now, awaiting trial. But I still work at that same Burger King. Every time I close up, I see his reflection in the drive-thru glass. That smile, that shirt, those eyes. And sometimes, late at night, when the fryer hums and the lights flicker, I hear a man's voice through the headset, soft as a whisper. 2 meals tonight, 1 Whopper, and a cheeseburger. I never thought I'd still be flipping burgers at 38. When I graduated with a degree in communications, I had big plans. A marketing career, maybe a house somewhere quiet, a normal life for my 2 kids. But plans fall apart fast when bills pile up and the only steady paycheck you can find comes with a paper hat and grease burns. So yeah, I've been working at Burger King in Everett, Washington for 3 years now. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. The crew's like family. We tease each other, share leftovers after closing, and try not to lose our minds during the lunch rush. But there was one man, one customer, who made every shift feel like a nightmare. His name was Mr. Howell. That's how his name showed up on every online order. He came in almost daily, always around 5:30 p.m. sharp. Drove, or rather rolled, in through the front door on his massive motorized wheelchair, dressed in a tight, old-fashioned suit that looked like it hadn't been washed in months. He was huge. Not just heavy and massive like his body was swallowing the chair that carried him. His pale skin looked stretched thin, and his eyes were a strange cloudy blue that never seemed to blink. We tried to be polite at first. Regulars are the heart of the business, right? The manager, Kelly, told us to treat him like royalty. Royalty, my ass. The man was a creep from day one. He'd wink at the younger girls, call them sweetheart, baby, cupcake. Once when Tina, a 16-year-old on the evening shift, handed him his shake, he wrapped his fingers around her wrist and wouldn't let go. She froze, terrified, until Kelly came out of the back. "Everything okay here, Mr. Howell?" she said with her customer service smile. He released Tina and laughed, that wet, wheezing kind of laugh. "Just saying hi to the pretty little thing. Don't be so uptight." Kelly pulled Tina aside later, told her to ignore it, said the guy was rich, that he donated to local charities, and that keeping him happy keeps the franchise happy. That's when I started hating this job. Weeks went by. Howell's behavior only got worse. He'd make gross jokes, ask the girls what color underwear they had on, or accidentally drop napkins so he could stare when they bent to pick them up. One time I caught him taking photos of one of the girls with his phone. When I told Kelly, she sighed and said, "Just let it go, Ethan. He hasn't done anything illegal." I wanted to say something like, "You'll change your tune when it's your daughter," but I bit my tongue. I needed the paycheck. But one evening, a cold, windy Thursday in November, everything changed. We had just gotten a new hire named Sophie. She was 19, bright-eyed, the kind of kid who still thought the world was fair. She'd only been on the job a week when Howell rolled. And he ordered his usual 2 Whoppers, large fries, chocolate milkshake, same as always. When Sophie brought the tray over, I saw his eyes follow her the whole way like a predator watching prey. "Evening, doll," he said in that raspy tone that made my skin crawl. Sophie smiled politely. "Evening, sir. Here's your order." As she turned to walk away, his hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. Then with terrifying strength, he yanked her closer until she stumbled against his chair. "Sit down right here, baby. Feed me these fries and I'll make it worth your while," he crooned, his lips shiny with grease. Sophie gasped, tried to pull back, but he wouldn't let go. His other hand reached for her waist. Something inside me snapped. I vaulted over the counter so fast that the ketchup bottles flew off the shelf. I grabbed his arm and tore it off her. "Let her go, you disgusting pig. Watch your mouth, boy," he snarled. "You're lucky I don't own this place or you'd be out on your ass." "Yeah?" I said, my voice shaking with rage. "You already look like you ate half the staff. Maybe you should skip a meal." The customers nearby started chuckling. Sophie stood behind me, trembling, her face red from embarrassment and fear. Howell's face turned purple. He swung his fat arm at me but missed, knocking his own milkshake into his lap. He started cursing, furious, trying to stand, but his weight shifted and he fell. The entire restaurant went silent for a second before laughter broke out again. He lay there on the tile, flailing like a beetle on its back. Kelly came running from the kitchen, eyes wide. "What happened?" I told her everything. Right there in front of customers, no hiding it. By the time the cops showed up, half the restaurant was filming. They questioned us all, then took Howell away for harassment. I heard later that several of the girls filed. Statements too. Kelly didn't say a word. When the door finally closed behind him, the place felt lighter, like we could breathe again. A few days passed, then a week. No Howell. We thought it was over. Then one evening, the online order system pinged. 2 Whoppers, large fries, chocolate milkshake. The name, Mr. Howell. Same address as always, an old mansion on Ashbury Hill just outside town. We all laughed, nervously. Kelly said, "Guess he's back to his old habits." But when the delivery driver came back, he said nobody answered. Left it on the porch like it said in the notes. The next day, same order. The next day, again. By the 5th day, the driver came back looking pale. "Guys," he said quietly, "the food's still there, from every day. Nobody's touched it." Kelly frowned. "Maybe he's out of town." "Then why's someone still paying for it?" I asked. It went on for over a week. Every evening, 5:30 sharp, the same order. No one picking it up. No one answering the door. Finally, Kelly called the cops for a welfare check. She didn't want to, but the delivery driver said there was a smell coming from the house. I volunteered to go with them. I don't know why. Maybe I just wanted to see the bastard get what he deserved. When we pulled up to the mansion, the place looked wrong. Curtains drawn. Mail piling up. A dozen Burger King bags rotting on the porch. Flies everywhere. The cop, a guy named Officer Dempsey, knocked. "Mr. Howell? Everett PD, you all right in there?" No answer. He tried again. Then we all heard it. A faint scratching noise from inside. Dempsey exchanged a look with his partner. "Back up," he muttered, then kicked the door open. The stench hit us like a wall. I gagged, covering my nose. It was rot. Human rot. Thick and sweet and nauseating. We followed the cops inside. The mansion was filthy, trash everywhere, the air heavy and damp. In the middle of the living room sat his wheelchair, tipped over, on its side. And there, sprawled out beside it, was Mr. Howell, or what was left of him. His face was bloated and half gone, his flesh sunken in places where something had been eating. Around him, scuttling away as the light hit them, were half a dozen cats. "Oh, Jesus Christ," Dempsey muttered, turning away. "He's been dead for weeks." I felt my knees go weak. Kelly ran outside to throw up. The coroner later said he'd probably choked, maybe on a fry, maybe just from a stroke, and died right there in the chair. The cats, locked inside with no food, did what starving animals do. The scratching. Sound we'd heard? They were clawing at the door, trying to get out. The cops shut down the scene, took the body, and left. But for days afterward, the smell clung to me, like it had soaked into my uniform, my skin. We stopped getting online, orders from Mr. Howell's account after that. But sometimes around closing time, when the fryers hiss and the air goes still, I swear I hear the faint whirring sound of a wheelchair motor near the front counter. The same low hum it used to make when he rolled in. Once, after hours, I walked past the window and saw greasy handprints on the glass, right where his chair used to park. Kelly said it was just condensation. Maybe she's right, but every night at 5:30, like clockwork, I glance toward the door and half expect to see him there again, waiting for his order. And when I close my eyes, I still hear that laugh, wet, choking, echoing like a dying engine. Maybe it's guilt, maybe it's justice. All I know is some hungers don't die. I wasn't planning on staying in Millstone long. It was one of those quiet, middle-of-nowhere towns you only stop in for gas. But life had other plans. My car broke down just outside the city limits. My savings were gone. And the only place, hiring that didn't ask for experience, was the Burger King off Route 9. That's how I ended up flipping burgers at midnight instead of heading west like I'd planned. The store was small, the kind with faded posters and flickering lights that hummed louder than the customers talked. My shift ran from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. The graveyard shift, as my manager liked to call it. Fitting name, I'd later realize. There were only 3 of us at night. Me, Jenna, the assistant manager, and a kid named Luis who was barely 20 but acted like he'd seen everything. Most nights were dead quiet, except for the occasional drunk pulling up for fries or some trucker grabbing coffee before hitting the highway again. Jenna was the kind of boss who didn't take crap from anyone but had a soft spot when you looked exhausted. She'd worked there 7 years and still managed to laugh about it. Luis just wanted his paycheck and a smoke break every half hour. Me? I just wanted to make rent for the month. The first week was easy. Cleaning, prepping, taking the occasional order. But on my 5th night, I noticed something strange about the drive-thru. It was around 12:45 a.m. The parking lot was empty, the sky black and thick with clouds. I was wiping down the counter when the headset crackled. "Hello?" I said automatically, glancing at the drive-thru screen. No car, static, then a faint whisper. "You forgot my order." I frowned. "Sorry? Who's this?" The screen showed nothing, just the drive-thru lane glowing under the buzzing floodlight. "Luis," I called. "You playing with the intercom?" He peeked around the fryer. "Nah, man, haven't touched it." The voice came again, clearer this time. "You forgot my order." I felt my stomach twist. "There's no one out there," I muttered. Jenna walked over, pulling her headset off. "What's going on?" "Someone's talking through the drive-thru, but there's no car." She gave me a strange look, like she'd heard this before. "Probably just the radio picking up interference," she said too quickly. "Happens sometimes when the weather's bad." It wasn't raining, but I let it go. 2 nights later, it happened again. Same time, around 12:45, I was refilling the ketchup station when the speaker hissed. "Hey," the voice whispered, almost playful. "You forgot me." I spun toward the monitor. Empty lane. I stepped closer, the mic still on. "Who is this?" No reply, only the faint sound of breathing, slow and uneven. Jenna looked up from her clipboard. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said, though I wasn't. The voice had sounded wet somehow, like someone trying to talk with water in their throat. After closing, when Jenna went to lock up, I asked, "Hey, has anyone ever died here or something?" She stopped mid-step. "Why would you ask that?" I shrugged. "Just a feeling." Her expression tightened. "Go home, kid. Get some sleep." The next night, Luis brought it up before I could. "You ever hear that weird voice on the drive-thru?" he asked, lighting a cigarette out back. I blinked. "So it's not just me." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, happened a couple weeks before you started. Thought it was my imagination. It says weird stuff like, 'I'm still waiting.' Creepy as hell." "Did you tell Jenna?" He laughed. "She doesn't want to talk about it. Says it's static. But I don't buy that." We fell silent. The hum of the fluorescent lights buzzed through the walls. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote howled. I didn't sleep much that night. A few days later, I asked one of the morning shift guys if he'd ever heard anything weird at night. He gave me a look and said quietly, "You're talking about the girl, right?" "What girl?" He leaned closer. "Her name was Holly. Used to work your shift last year. She, didn't make it." My heart thudded. "What happened?" He hesitated. "She slipped. Out back near the drive-thru lane. It was raining. She went to take the trash out. Hit her head on the curb. They found her the next morning." I swallowed hard. "Out by the speaker?" He nodded. "Yeah, right next to it. That night I couldn't focus on anything but that damn speaker box. Every time it crackled, my hand shook. At 12:50 it came again, a woman's voice much soft, trembling, almost pleading. "Why didn't anyone help me?" I froze. "Who are you?" "Don't leave," she whispered. "I'm still here." The camera flickered, and for a split second I swore I saw something move. A shape, human, standing by the menu board. I blinked and it was gone. I ripped the headset off and backed away. Louis stared at me from the fryer, his face pale. "You heard it too?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah." We decided to keep the drive-thru off for the rest of the night. Jenna wasn't happy when she found out in the morning, but we didn't care. The next evening, Jenna called out sick. That meant it was just me and Luis running the entire place. "Let's just get through the shift," he said. "No ghost crap tonight." We tried. We really did. But around 1, the lights in the kitchen flickered. The soda machine hissed on its own, and then, from the drive-thru speaker, a soft laugh. Luis froze. "Tell me you heard that." "Yeah," I whispered. The camera flashed white for a moment, and when it cleared, there was someone standing there. A girl. Soaked. Her Burger King visor tilted sideways, hair plastered across her face. Then she was gone. Luis dropped the headset like it burned him. "Nah, man, I'm done." He bolted for the back door, but it wouldn't open. He tugged the handle again and again until it finally gave way. I didn't see him the rest of the night. I stayed inside, shaking, clutching the headset like an idiot. That's when I heard it again, right behind me. "You forgot my order." I turned around and there she was, standing by the counter. Wet uniform, pale face, blood trickling down her temple. Her eyes locked on mine and her lips trembled. "I was waiting," she whispered. The lights went out. When I came to, it was morning. Sunlight streamed through the front windows and my manager, Dean, was shaking my shoulder. "Kid, what the hell happened? You sleep here all night?" I looked around. Everything was clean. No water, no blood, no sign of Holly. I guess I passed out. He sighed. "You're working too hard. Take a few days off." I didn't argue. I packed my things and left. For a while I tried to forget. Got a new job at a gas station across town. Different uniform, same graveyard shift, but every time the intercom crackled, my stomach clenched. One night my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "She's still waiting." I stared at it for a long time. No reply. The next morning I heard that Luis had quit Burger King. Apparently he'd been found sitting in his car in the parking lot, eyes wide open, mumbling the same words over and over. "You forgot my order? You forgot my order." Last week, I drove past the old Burger King again. It's open 24 hours now under new management. Bright red neon signs, new paint, new faces. You'd never guess what happened there. But as I passed the drive-thru, my radio turned on by itself. Crackling. Faint. Like a distant transmission. A soft, female voice whispered through the static. "You forgot me." And for just a moment, in the reflection of my rearview mirror, I saw her, standing by the speaker box, smiling. "I don't take night shifts anymore. I don't even eat fast food." But sometimes when I'm alone, I still hear that whisper, faint and static-filled, coming through my phone or my car radio or the silence just before sleep. You forgot my order, and I know I'll never forget her. It was early June when I landed a job at King's Burger, a small-town fast food joint on the edge of Route 12. I'd just turned 21, living in a rundown apartment above a laundromat. Rent was cheap, but so were the walls. I could hear my neighbor coughing through the night, and the pipe screamed every time I turned on the shower. Still, I needed the money. College hadn't worked out, and my savings were gone. So when King's Burger called me back after the interview, I took it as a win. My first few weeks went by fast. The job wasn't glamorous, endless grease, constant cleaning, rude customers, but the team was decent. Most nights, it was just me and another worker named Ricky, a guy in his mid-20s with a lazy smile and a love for horror podcasts. We'd kill time by swapping creepy stories while waiting for the drive-thru bell to ring. Then there was Gerald. Gerald was in his 50s, short and stocky, with a voice that always seemed one tone too cheerful. He'd worked there longer than anyone, some said over 15 years. He always called me champ or buddy, and though he never did anything outright bad, there was something off about him. He stared too long. He laughed too easily. He knew everyone's schedule by heart. The manager, a tired woman named Carla, told me during training, "Don't let Gerald get under your skin. He's just old school. Means well, though. Old school my ass." It was a Tuesday night, quiet, humid, and dull. I was on grill duty while Ricky handled the register. The hum of the freezers mixed with the faint sound of the radio Carla always kept playing in the back. Around 11:45 p.m., Carla clocked out, leaving me and Ricky to close up with Gerald. I remember the clock ticking loudly as the last order came through, a single Whopper meal. I made it, bagged it, and turned toward Gerald to hand it off for drive-thru. But he wasn't there. The headset was still hanging off the counter. The drive-thru window was slightly open, a faint breeze moving the paper napkins nearby. I frowned, looked around, and called out, "Hey, Gerald?" No answer. "Ricky, you see Gerald go out back?" Ricky shook his head. "Nah, maybe he went. For a smoke. Dude never tells anyone." I shrugged and went to the back room. The door to the alley was propped open with a crate. The night air was thick, the smell of rain nearby. I poked my head out. The alley was empty, except for a large garbage bin near the fence. For a second, I thought I saw someone's shadow move behind it, but when I looked again, it was gone. Weird. When I came back inside, Gerald was standing at the sink washing his hands slowly. "You good, man?" I asked. He looked over his shoulder, smiling faintly. "Just freshening up, champ. Gotta stay clean if we're serving food, right?" There was something in his tone that made my skin crawl. Too calm, too knowing. I just nodded and went back to the counter. When the clock hit midnight, we locked, up and left. Ricky dropped me a ride home and I tried to forget about it. But that night I had the weirdest dream. Gerald standing under the flickering sign of King's Burger, wearing a plastic crown, waving at me with a gloved hand. The smile never moved. A week later it happened again. Something small, but it stuck with me. We'd just gotten slammed with the dinner rush. I excused myself to the restroom before we started cleaning up. The place had one stall and one urinal. Same old greasy tiles and flickering light. When I walked in, the stall door was closed. Someone was inside. I went to the urinal and started doing my business. That's when I heard it. Whispering. Soft, wet, rhythmic whispering. It wasn't words exactly, just a sound like someone talking to themselves through clenched teeth. The light above me flickered again, buzzing like a dying fly. Then suddenly a laugh. Low, breathy, wrong. I zipped up and turned toward the door, ready to bolt. That's when it opened. Gerald stepped out, smiling. "Relax, champ. Didn't mean to scare you." I stared at him. "Were you talking to someone?" He tilted his head. "Just myself. Helps me think. You ever do that?" I didn't answer. He washed his hands, humming some jingle from the 80s, then leaned toward me. His breath smelled faintly of coffee and something sour. "You ever notice," he said, "how quiet this place gets after midnight? Like the whole world forgets it's still here." I forced a laugh. "Yeah, guess so. Some nights," he went on, "I think if we just stopped talking, stopped moving, nobody would ever know we were gone. That was enough." I pushed past him and left. That night I couldn't sleep. 2 days later, Carla called in sick and Ricky's car broke down. Guess who got stuck covering the night shift? Me and Gerald. The rain started around 9 p.m., heavy and cold. By 10, the parking lot was empty. No customers, just the sound of rain hammering the roof. Gerald sat in the lobby, counting napkin stacks for no reason. I stayed behind the counter, pretending to check inventory. I kept my phone open beside me, watching the clock. Time seemed to crawl. Around midnight, the lights flickered, once, twice, and then stabilized. Gerald chuckled. "This place is old," he said. "Sometimes I think it's alive." "Yeah, well, hope it doesn't die while we're in it," I muttered. He didn't laugh, just stared. At 12:30, I went to check the freezer temperature. When I came back, the lobby lights were dimmed, and Gerald was gone. "Gerald?" I called. Nothing. The door to the back hallway was cracked open. I pushed it slowly. The smell hit me first. Raw meat and something metallic. Then I saw him. Gerald stood in the prep room, the Burger King mascot, head on the table beside him. Not the real one, some bootleg version with glassy eyes and yellowed teeth. He was mumbling under his breath, holding a burger patty in his hand. "Gerald," I said softly, "what are you doing?" He didn't move. Then he looked at me, dead serious, and said, "They like it better rare." "What?" He slammed the patty onto the counter. "The ones outside, the ones that come after midnight." My pulse started racing. "You're freaking me out, man." He smiled. "Good. Keeps you sharp." I backed up, hand reaching for my phone. He saw it and laughed. "Don't bother calling anyone, champ. Nobody answers this late." Then, as if on cue, the power went out. Everything plunged into darkness. The emergency light by the exit flickered faintly. I could barely see shapes, shelves, boxes, the prep counter. I heard movement, slow footsteps, something dragging along the floor. "Gerald?" I whispered. A wet, rattling breath came from behind the fryers, then the faint sound of laughter. Not loud, just a single "heh" that crawled under my skin. My heart thudded as I grabbed the flashlight from the counter. The beam cut through the darkness and froze. The mascot head was gone. "Gerald!" I shouted. "This isn't funny." The walk-in freezer door creaked open. My flashlight flickered. I turned toward it. Inside the freezer stood the king, that cheap fake mascot head resting crookedly on someone's shoulders. The robe was smeared with something dark. For a second I thought it was a prank, until I saw the eyes behind the mask, too wide, too wet, too real. He started walking toward me, knife glinting in the flashlight beam. I bolted toward the back door, slipped on the wet tile, and hit the ground hard. The knife clattered behind me. I scrambled to my feet and grabbed the nearest thing, a metal tray. When I swung it, it hit something solid. The figure stumbled, hitting the wall. I ripped off the mascot head and gasped. It wasn't Gerald. It was Ricky. His face was pale, blood dripping from a cut near his ear. He looked at me, dazed. "Bro, it's a joke. It's..." Before he could finish, a shadow moved behind him. A hand went older, rougher, reached around his neck, and then there was Gerald. "Now you've ruined it," he hissed, driving the knife forward. I screamed and ran, out the side door, through the rain, into the parking lot. My shoes slapped against the wet concrete, heart pounding so hard it hurt. I didn't stop until I reached the main road, waving at a passing car. They stopped, called the cops. I kept babbling. Something about a knife, a mask, blood. When the police arrived, they searched the building. They found blood, overturned trays, and a knife, but no bodies. Ricky and Gerald were both gone. I quit the next day. Carla didn't even fight me on it. She looked exhausted, like she already knew something bad was coming. 2 weeks later, Kingsburger closed down for renovation. It never reopened. Sometimes when I drive past that stretch of Route 12, I still see the faint outline of the old sign. The red paint is faded, the crown symbol barely visible. But on rainy nights, when the wind picks up just right, the sign flickers faintly, like someone inside flipped the switch back on. And once, I swear I saw a man standing by the window. A tall figure with a paper crown and a familiar smile, staring right at me. I don't stop anymore, I just keep driving. I was never scared of driving alone at night. That was part of the job. Long hauls between small towns, dropping off machine parts and tools to construction sites that always seemed to exist in the middle of nowhere. I liked it, honestly. The quiet hum of the engine, the low static of the radio, the glow of the dashboard in the dark. It gave me space to think. That summer, though, something changed the way I see the road forever. It was late July, and I'd been on the road for almost 10 hours, heading from Denver to a site outside a place called Elridge, Kansas. My GPS showed nothing but flat farmland ahead, and the last gas station I'd seen was at least 40 miles back. When my fuel gauge slipped below a quarter tank, I started to worry. The highway stretched on endlessly. No signs, no billboards, no houses, just black fields and a pale moon. The hum of the tires was hypnotic, and for a moment, I thought maybe I'd take a quick break, park somewhere, and nap. But then through the fog and the dark I saw it. A Burger King sign. It glowed red and gold in the distance, flickering faintly like a campfire. I blinked, wondering if I was imagining it. But as I got closer, the outline of the building came into view. A brand new, perfectly lit Burger King sitting alone beside the highway. There were no other cars, no other lights for miles. But my fuel gauge was nearly empty, and I figured maybe they'd at least have a bathroom or someone who could point me toward the next gas station. I pulled into the lot. The asphalt was spotless. Not a single piece of trash, not even oil stains. The only other vehicle there was an old gray sedan parked crooked near the back. I stepped out, stretched, and walked to the door. Inside, everything gleamed. The floor tiles, the chrome counters, the bright menu boards showing perfectly crisp pictures of burgers. The air smelled faintly of fries, grease, and cleaning spray. But something was off. There was no sound, no chatter, no beeping fryers, not even background music. "Hello?" I called out. A few seconds later, a man stepped out from the kitchen. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, with pale skin and dark hair that looked slicked back with too much gel. His uniform was perfect. Crisp black slacks, red polo, and a name tag that read Rick. He gave me a wide smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Welcome to Burger King," he said softly. "You caught us right before closing." "Lucky. Me," I said, half laughing. "Didn't think there'd be anything open this late." He nodded slowly, his smile never fading. "We always stay open for travelers." That should have comforted me, but it didn't. Something about the way he said travelers sounded wrong, formal, like he was quoting a line from a play. Still, I was hungry. "Can I grab a burger, maybe some fries?" He tilted his head. "Of course. Would you like to try our midnight grill special?" I frowned. "Never heard of that one." He smiled wider. "It's a local item, only available late nights." "Sure," I said. "Why not?" He didn't take payment. He just turned, disappeared into the kitchen, and the faint sound of sizzling began. I took a seat by the window, watching the empty highway. The lights flickered once, just slightly. I brushed it off, probably old wiring. When Rick came back, he placed a tray in front of me, burger, fries, and a soda cup without a logo. The food looked perfect. The burger bun was golden, the lettuce crisp. But the smell hit me first. Strong, metallic, like iron. I hesitated. Rick was still standing there. "Go ahead," he said. "It's fresh." I took a small bite. The texture was wrong, too soft, too warm. And the taste, and it wasn't beef, it was sour, metallic, like blood. I gagged, spitting it into a napkin. "What the hell is this?" I asked. Rick's smile didn't move. "You said you wanted it fresh." I stood up. "I'm not eating this." "What kind of meat is that?" He took a slow step forward. "House blend, special recipe." The air in the room seemed thicker suddenly, like the air conditioning had stopped. My heart began pounding. "Listen," I said, backing away. "I'm just gonna head out." Rick's head tilted to one side. Too far to be natural. "The door's locked," he said quietly. "For your safety." I turned and yanked on the handle. It didn't budge. "What the hell?" I shouted. Behind me, the fryer hissed loudly. The lights above flickered again, and for a split second I saw something in the reflection of the window. Shapes behind the counter. Dozens of them. Pale figures standing in the shadows of the kitchen, all wearing the same uniform, all smiling. The same way. Rick's voice came from right behind me now. "You should sit down. The meal isn't complete." I spun around. He was inches from my face. His eyes were wrong now. The pupils stretched too wide, swallowing most of the iris. His smile was too large, stretching like rubber. "You can't waste food," he whispered. I shoved past him, knocking over the tray, and ran for the back of the restaurant. The kitchen door slammed shut behind me on its own. The smell of burnt meat filled the air. Every fryer was running, but there was no food in them, just bubbling, black oil. Something moved in the shadows near the freezer, slow and jerky, like a puppet. Then another shape. They looked like people, but their faces were smooth, blank. Their uniforms were soaked in something dark. I didn't stop to look. I ran through the back hallway, found a red emergency door, and threw myself against it until it burst open. The night air hit me like ice. I sprinted to my car, fumbling my keys. Behind me, I heard a voice. Calm. Too calm. Don't forget your order, Rick said. I jumped in, slammed the door, and peeled out of the parking lot. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely steer. In the rearview mirror, the restaurant still glowed behind me. Bright, clean, perfect. And standing by the glass door was Rick, watching me, smiling, holding the burger in his hand. When I finally reached Elridge an hour later, the first thing I did was pull into a gas station. The clerk, a woman in her 40s, looked up from her newspaper when I stumbled in. "Hey, you okay?" she asked. "You look like you saw a ghost." I laughed shakily. "Something like that. You know if there's a Burger King down the highway? Couple miles back?" Her face changed instantly. "You mean the one on Route 36? "Yeah," I said. "That one." She shook her head slowly. "Honey, that place burned down years ago. Whole thing went up overnight, killed 2 people inside. One of them was the night manager. Some guy named Rick, I think." I just stood there. "That's impossible," I whispered. "I was just there." She frowned. "You must have seen something else. Ain't nothing out there but a boarded up lot." I walked back outside in a daze. My car door was still open, and when I got in, the smell hit me again. Grease and iron. Sitting in the cup holder was the same unmarked soda cup. I stared at it for a long time before driving off. Over the next week, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me. My apartment reeked of burnt oil. My phone kept buzzing with strange notifications, blank texts, timestamps, but no messages. Sometimes when I closed my eyes, I'd see that smile again. And once, late at night, I woke up to the faint smell of fries. When I looked at my kitchen counter, there was a single Burger King receipt sitting there. No price, no order number. Just a line of text. "Order ready, no substitutions." I tore it up, flushed it, tried to sleep again. But around 3 a.m., my phone lit up one last time. Unknown number. "Your meal is getting cold." 3 days later, I was back on the road. Couldn't afford to skip work. I took a route through Oklahoma this time, far from Kansas. But around midnight, my GPS glitched, and before I knew it, I was driving down a narrow stretch of highway with no name. The radio fizzed with static. The air smelled of grease again. And up ahead, in the distance, glowing faintly through the fog, I saw it. A red and yellow sign. Burger King. I slammed the brakes, heart hammering. My hands shook as I shifted into reverse, but the car wouldn't move. The engine died. The dashboard lights flickered. Then the radio came alive, faintly at first, and a voice I recognized. "Welcome back. Drive-thru's open." The speakers hissed, and the smell of fries grew stronger. I looked out the window and saw the restaurant ahead, bright as ever with the same shining floors and spotless glass. And standing by the door, waving slowly, was Rick. His smile stretched wider than before. "Your order's ready," he said. "No substitutions." They found my truck 2 days later, parked on the side of the highway. Engine still running, doors unlocked. The inside reeked of burnt oil. My wallet and phone were still there, but the driver's seat was empty. The only thing investigators found in the cup holder was a Burger King bag, grease-stained, unmarked. Inside, a single burger, still warm. I never thought working the graveyard shift at a Burger King could mess with my head the way it did. It started as just another job. Bills piling up, rent overdue, my car barely running. When I saw a help wanted night crew sign taped to the glass door of the Burger King off Highway 47, I figured, why not? It was a 24-hour store, right next to an old gas station and a stretch of woods no one bothered to go near. The manager, Linda, hired me the same day. "We just need someone dependable," she said. "Most folks don't last on nights, gets quiet, too quiet." I laughed it off then. If only I'd known what she meant. My first few weeks went fine. The night shift was usually me, Terry, and Rosa. Terry handled the drive-thru, Rosa managed the front counter and cleaning. I took care of kitchen duties and prep, dropping fries, stacking burgers, wiping down the grill. The nights all felt the same. Around 1 a.m., traffic died out, and we'd lean against the counter scrolling through our phones, the hum of the fryers like background music. Sometimes truckers stopped by, tired men with blank stares who smelled of diesel and loneliness. Sometimes it was teenagers daring each other to order ghost pepper nuggets. But around 2:15 a.m., things always shifted. The air got heavier, colder, and then came that sound. At first, I thought it was the ventilation system. A faint thud. 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 Like someone tapping the inside of a hollow wall. But the sound wasn't coming from the vents. It was coming from the walk-in freezer. The first night I heard it, I shrugged it off. Probably the compressor or some shifting ice, I thought. But by the third night, I couldn't ignore it anymore. It always happened around the same time. 3 knocks. A pause, 2 more. It wasn't random, it was rhythmic, like a pattern. I told Terry about it while he was restocking cups. "Man, that freezer freaks me out," I said. "You ever hear knocking?" He froze mid-step. "Don't even joke about that," he muttered. "I'm serious." "So am I," he said, lowering his voice. "Last month before you got here, we had some kid named Caleb. He quit after a week. Said something was inside there knocking on the door every night." I laughed nervously. "And you believed him?" He looked me dead in the eye. "I do now." A week later, I found out why. Rosa called out sick one Friday, so it was just me and Terry. The store was dead empty, not a single car for miles. The radio static filled the silence while I cleaned the fry baskets. Then it came again. Thud, thud, thud. I froze, staring toward the metal freezer door at the back. Terry heard it too. "Shit," he whispered. "Not again." "What the hell is that?" He shook his head. Just don't open it." But curiosity got the better of me. I walked toward the freezer, the rubber soles of my shoes squeaking on the tile. The air felt colder near the door even though I hadn't opened it. I pressed my ear against the metal. Nothing. Silence. Then, bang. Something slammed against the door from inside. I stumbled back. Terry shouted, "I told you not to open."
"It."
My heart was pounding.
"What's in there?"
He didn't answer. The next morning, I cornered Linda when she came in for the morning shift. "Hey, can I ask you something weird?" She sighed, rubbing her temples. "If it's about the freezer, don't. Just don't." "So it's real?" I asked. She gave me a long, tired look. "Let's just say that freezer's older than the remodel. Some things got left behind when they rebuilt. Things better left alone." I thought she was joking, until I noticed her hands trembling slightly as she poured her coffee. The following week, Terry quit without notice. Didn't even pick up his last paycheck. He just left a note on the break room table that said, "Don't stay past 2, don't answer the knocks." So I ended up working alone. That Saturday night, it was storming hard outside. Wind howled through the drive-thru speaker, and lightning flashed against the parking lot. Around 2:10 a.m., the power flickered. The store went dark for a second, and when the lights came back on, I heard it, louder than ever. Thud, thud, thud. "Not tonight," I muttered, pretending to ignore it. But then I heard something new. A voice, a faint choked whisper through the thick metal. "Help! Me!" I froze mid-step. My hands went cold. "Hello," I called out. "Is someone in there?" No answer. Then came the sound of nails scratching the inside of the door. Scratch, scratch. I backed away, heart hammering. It wasn't possible. No one had gone in there since the evening. The freezer could only be opened from the outside unless you hit the safety latch inside. But if someone was in there, against every instinct screaming at me not to, I grabbed the handle and pulled it open. The blast of icy air nearly stole my breath. The light inside flickered like a dying bulb. I stepped in slowly. Hello? Anyone here? The hum of the fan was the only sound. Rows of frozen patties, stacked boxes of chicken, shelves of fries. Nothing unusual until I saw footprints. Small ones, bare feet. They trailed across the frosted floor toward the back wall. I followed them, my flashlight trembling in my hand. They stopped at a stack of cardboard boxes labeled Whopper buns. And then I heard breathing. Not mine. Shallow. Fast. Desperate. Who's there? I asked, voice cracking. The light flickered once more, and for a split second, I saw her. A woman. Standing behind the boxes. Her Burger King uniform frozen stiff, her hair stuck to her face in icy strands, skin pale blue. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Don't lock me in again." I stumbled backward, slipped, and fell hard onto the frozen floor. When I looked back up, she was gone. I slammed the freezer door shut, gasping. My chest heaved as I stared at my reflection in the small window. My breath fogged the glass, then, as if something pressed against it from the inside, frost began to form words. "Let me out." I ran out of there so fast I nearly tripped over the mop bucket. I grabbed my keys, didn't even clock out, and sped home through the storm. The next morning, Linda called. "You left the store unlocked," she said flatly. "You know how dangerous that is?" "Linda, there's something in the freezer." A long silence. Then, quietly, she said, "I know." That's when she told me the truth. 5 years ago, before the remodel, there was a night shift worker named Melanie Carter. She was 19. It was winter, snowstorm, power outage. The latch on the freezer jammed while she was restocking meat. No one found her until morning. She froze to death inside. Corporate covered it up, paid off her family, replaced the equipment, but the knocking started soon after. "Every manager knows," Linda said softly. "We just pretend it's nothing. Cheaper that way." I sat in silence, gripping the phone. "You mean we've been working on top of her grave?" Linda whispered. "Sometimes the dead don't stay buried, Chris." I tried to quit the next day, but Linda begged me to stay just one more weekend until they found a replacement. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Saturday came, my last night. I promised myself I wouldn't go near the freezer, no matter what. I even turned up the music in the kitchen to drown out any noise. But when 2:17 rolled around, everything stopped. The music cut out. The fryers went silent. Even the air felt like it froze in place. Then came the knocks. Thud, 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 followed by a faint sobbing. I clenched my fists and shouted, "I'm sorry, okay? I didn't trap you. It wasn't me." The sobbing stopped. Then, slowly, the freezer handle began to move on its own, turning, lifting, clicking open. The door creaked. Cold mist spilled out like fog. I saw her again, standing in the doorway, frost dripping from her fingertips, her eyes empty and white. "Why didn't you help me?" she whispered. "I wasn't here," I stammered. "It wasn't me." But she stepped closer, her breath like ice against my cheek. "You heard me, and you left." The lights flickered, and the whole kitchen plunged into darkness. I stumbled backward, screaming her name, but there was no sound, except my own heartbeat. Then, bang! The freezer door slammed shut. When the morning crew came in, they found the store empty. My car was still in the parking lot. The door was locked from the inside. They said the freezer was wide open, frost coating the walls, and on the inside of the door, etched in ice, were 2 sets of handprints, then one small, one larger, pressed together. Linda quit after that. The store closed for renovations a month later. They reopened under a new name, new staff, new everything. But if you drive past that Burger King on Highway 47 around 2 a.m., some truckers swear they still see the freezer light flickering and hear faint knocking through the night air. Sometimes 3 knocks, sometimes 2, always in rhythm, always waiting for someone to answer. I never thought flipping burgers could mess with my head the way it did. When you work long enough at a Burger King in a small town like Mill Creek, you start to forget what day it is, what month it is, hell, even who you are sometimes. The grease smell sticks to your clothes, your hair, even your dreams. I was 23, living in a rundown apartment above a laundromat, trying to save enough to move out of this dying town. I'd been working the closing shift, 3 p.m. to 1. For almost a year. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. My manager, Brenda, was a chain-smoking woman in her 50s who looked like she'd seen every possible kind of fast food disaster. We had a tiny crew, me, a kid named Tyler who always reeked, of weed, and Rosa, who handled the register and talked more than she worked. Outside, Mill Creek was dead quiet after dark. The only lights came from our neon sign that flickered every few seconds, the K buzzing like it was fighting to stay alive. The nights were mostly the same. Mop the floor, restock buns, make fries for the occasional drunk idiot who stumbled. And but one Tuesday night something changed. I was standing at the grill zoning out when I heard Rosa whisper, what the hell? I turned to see a figure standing outside the drive-thru window. Tall, stiff, wearing a velvet red robe and a plastic crown. The Burger King mascot, Tyler muttered, squinting through the glass. Dude, what the hell is this guy doing here at midnight? At first we laughed. Maybe it was a college prank. But then the man just stood there, unmoving, the white mask reflecting the harsh light from the kitchen. His face and that fake frozen smile stared right at us. Rosa leaned closer to the intercom. Sir, do you want to order something? After a long pause, a voice came through the speaker. Slow, deep, mechanical. 30 Whoppers. Tyler snorted. Bro, is this guy for real? I tried to keep it light. You sure you can handle that, King? The man tilted his head slightly. 30 Whoppers. Now. We all exchanged looks. The voice wasn't playful. It was flat, monotone like an automated recording. Brenda came out from the back, irritated. What's the damn holdup? There's a guy outside. Wants 30 Whoppers. She frowned, walked to the window and peeked out. Jesus Christ, she muttered. Fine, take the damn order. If he's paying, we're cooking. He paid in cash, exactly $212.70, all in crisp 20s. No change needed. We spent the next 20 minutes grilling burgers while Tyler kept glancing at the window. He hasn't moved, he said, just standing there watching. When I finally carried out the bags, the man stepped closer. Up close, the mask looked wrong. The plastic looked old, yellowed, cracked near the eyes. The crown was bent like it had been dug out of a dumpster. Here you go, sir, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He reached into the bag, pulled out a single Whopper, and held it up to his face. Then, through the mouth slit of the mask, he whispered, Have it your way. I blinked. What? He slowly turned, walked toward the parking lot, and disappeared into the dark. I figured that was the end of it. Some weird dude doing a late-night prank. But I was wrong. He came back the next night. And the one after that. Always at 9 p.m., always ordering 30 Whoppers, always paying in perfect cash. After the 5th night, Tyler refused to work the shift. I'm done, bro, he said. That guy's not right. Every time he's here, the fryer starts glitching, the lights flicker, the radio picks up static. It's like he's messing with the damn place. Brenda tried to laugh it off, but I could see it in her eyes. She was spooked too. That Friday night, she made me close up alone. You're the best one for night shifts, kid. You'll be fine. Yeah. Sure. Around 9:10, I heard it again. The distant hum of a car pulling into the drive-thru. My stomach dropped. Welcome to Burger King, I said into the mic, my voice shaking. What can I get for you? Silence. Then that same mechanical tone. 30 Whoppers. I tried to joke, though my throat felt dry. You know we've got other stuff, right? Maybe try a salad? A pause. Then slower this time. 30 Whoppers, or I take yours. I froze. Excuse me? But before I could respond, Every light in the restaurant flickered out. The grill hissed and died. The neon sign outside buzzed once, then went black. I was alone in the dark. The drive-thru camera monitor glowed faintly, showing a grainy black and white image. The car was gone. The lane was empty. Then, a tap on the window. I turned. The man in the mask was standing outside the glass, his face inches from mine. He didn't move, didn't breathe. Then his hand came up, and he started tapping his finger against the glass in a slow rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. I grabbed my phone to call someone, but there was no signal, not even Wi-Fi. The screen flickered, then went black. Suddenly, the kitchen speaker crackled. His voice came through every intercom in the store. "You forgot my order." The fryer turned on by itself, bubbling furiously. The grill sizzled. The lights above the counter flickered, casting strobe-like flashes across the dining area. Then I saw it. On the floor, near the counter. Burger wrappers, fresh ones, but no one had made them. The wrappers began to move, puffing up like something inside them was breathing. I stepped back, heart hammering. What the hell? From one of the wrappers, a hand burst out, slick, greasy, clutching a half-burnt bun. Another wrapper twitched, then tore open to reveal a mound of meat that started pulsing like a living thing. The smell was unbearable, like burnt flesh mixed with raw beef. The intercom hissed again. "Have it your way." I ran toward the back door, fumbling with the lock, but it wouldn't open. The handle was melting, the metal soft under my palm. The air felt hot, choking. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, heavy, deliberate. I turned. The mascot stood in the middle of the kitchen, smoke rising from his robe, grease dripping from his gloves. His voice echoed through the building. "You took too long." He lifted a hand, and the fryer beside him erupted, boiling oil splattering across the walls. I stumbled back, fell, hit my head on the counter. Everything went black. When I came to, I was in my apartment. My uniform was covered in grease, my shoes caked with dried ketchup. My phone buzzed. A message from Brenda. "Larry, call me. Burger King burned down last night. The cops think it was electrical. Are you okay?" I didn't respond. I just sat there shaking. Then I noticed something on my table. A paper bag, grease-stained. No note, no receipt. Inside were 3 Whoppers, perfectly wrapped, perfectly warm. I threw them in the trash and ran to the bathroom to splash water on my face. When I looked up at the mirror, I froze. Behind me, in the reflection, stood the Burger King mascot. His mask cracked down the middle, revealing darkness inside. And in that same hollow voice, he whispered, "You forgot mine." I spun around. No one there. The next morning, I went to my grandpa's house. He'd raised me after my parents died. The old man was sharp, funny, always calm. The kind of guy who could make you laugh no matter how bad things were. He poured me coffee, stared at me with those wise, tired eyes, and said, "You look like you've seen a ghost, son." "Think I have," I muttered, and told him everything. He listened quietly, never interrupting. When I finished, he said, "You remember when you were a kid, how we used to play duck hunt on that old Nintendo?" "Yeah," I said. "Why?" He smiled faintly. "You always froze when that duck popped up. You had to stop thinking and just pull the trigger. Grandpa, this isn't a damn video game." "No," he said softly. "But maybe it's time you finish the hunt." That night, I went back to the burned-down restaurant. The air still smelled of smoke and charred meat. The sign lay shattered in the parking lot. "Have it your way." The letters melted, twisted. I walked inside. My flashlight flickered against blackened tiles. The grill was warped, the fryer a pool of hardened grease. Then I saw him standing near the counter, perfectly still, mask gleaming faintly. "I'm done running," I said. My voice cracked, but I stood my ground. He tilted his head. "Order up." "I didn't forget your order," I said. "You forgot you're dead." He didn't move. Then his mask started to crumble, pieces falling to the floor. Beneath it wasn't a face, just a hollow cavity, dripping with black grease. Have it. Before he could finish, I grabbed the lighter fluid from the counter and threw it. Flames roared up, swallowing his robe, his mask, his crown. He didn't scream, just stood there, burning silently until the shape dissolved into ash. I stumbled outside, coughing, gasping for air. The fire raged behind me, lighting up the night sky like hell itself. When the fire trucks arrived, there was nothing left of him, nothing but melted plastic and smoke. I thought it was over, but last week I got a job at another Burger King 2 towns over. I needed the money, needed to move on. Everything was fine, and until last night when I went to clock out. My manager called me into the break room. "Hey," she said, frowning. "Someone left this for you." She handed me a small, grease-stained paper bag, inside 1 Whopper, still warm, and under the wrapper, written in ketchup. "Your turn to serve." I dropped it and ran out of the building. I don't know who or what he was, but every time I close my eyes, I see that plastic grin in the dark. And sometimes when I pass by the mirror at night, I swear I see the crown on my own head.